Om Namo Narayana. Welcome back to our stroll through the introductory texts for the Vedic Universe trilogy of books by Radha Karana. This is the fourth video in the series. Today's chapter is called United We Stand, Divided We Fall. The Nava demons are famous for conjuring tricks to bewilder the mind. They exemplify the idea of presenting falsehoods as truths, and they like to inflame desire. These days, people equate information with truth, while the real truth of the Vedas is being passed off as mythology. Demons create masks that have the potential and power to make an untruth an accepted reality. They do this through the constant spreading of information on a given topic, controlling both sides of the story and putting information side by side with disinformation. He who controls information and the way it is spread controls what people think and the way the world is shaped. Let us take the example of money, which is much in the news these days. Due to paper notes once being backed by an equal amount of gold, people now accept that a piece of paper is worth a certain amount of value. That idea has been placed in the mind via metaphysical programming using the propaganda that banks, governments, and authorities who dress gentlemanly are honest. However, in truth, they are anything but. Central banks create rules that allow them to loan out the same money many times over. Then inflation was created to lower the money's value by allowing a central agency to print even more paper notes that can again be lent out many times over. If truth be told, the banks do not possess the gold to back the promises governments make on the notes, and the system of spreading information perpetuates the lie, just as in a Ponzi scheme. Lately, the idea of money has degenerated into simply being digits on a computer, and a bank loan is created by pressing a few buttons in the right places. The concept of money is key to any society because everyone puts faith in it, even more so than in God. With the initiation of digital currencies, money will be the hook that enslaves everyone in an unprecedented digital surveillance system controlled by AI. The digital world will eventuate with the owners of digital corporations having the right to simply cut off their service with the flick of a switch, no matter what the service pertains to. Imagine your lifeline is digitized and embedded on your wrist. In an instant, a corporation can take away your right to food. But in an analog world, God is never that unjust. In a technological age like ours, information can equate to the power to control. To suit the narrative of the controllers, information on untruths is spread until it becomes a part of the accepted norm. The Prince, a book written by a politician named Machiavelli, is known as one of the most demonically influential books on Earth. Many of the Earth's leaders and billionaires follow the tenets of this book. For hundreds of years, the book was banned in many countries, but leaders always had access to it. Machiavelli explains how to gain power, how to keep power, and how to dispose of all obstacles to achieving your goals, the obstacles being anyone who gets in the way. Like many others, the ruthless Russian leader Stalin, who used principles of fear and manipulation to rule his citizens, lived by the tenets of this book. He used propaganda and violence to make himself appear as a hero and would place secret agents in the crowd to look for the first person to stop clapping after his speech had ended. That person would be executed, and the next few people to stop clapping would be sentenced to life imprisonment in concentration camps. Thus, at his speeches, no one wanted to stop clapping and praising his greatness. Leaders are always afraid of being usurped. And to prevent this from happening in modern times, not only are narratives and truth controlled, but so too is the testosterone of the citizens via chemicals, making men feminine while also keeping people sick, sidetracked, and oppressed with debt is the easiest way to mold people into sheeple and thus prevent an uprising. Atrocities and physical impotence can flourish due to the people's ignorance of the truth, their susceptibility to manipulation, and their willful surrender of power. This is also true in religions, including the current Vaishnava leaders of today. To change this, people need to turn to God in His form as Shastra and understand that everything they require to attain perfection has already been given by the Lord and His pure representatives. The path of material desire leads to moral degradation, as comforts and distractions hinder one's capacity and desire to perform austerity and sacrifice. Having a natural inclination to be happy and enjoy, the bewildered citizen is tempted. These deceptions and temptations, whether through commercial items, pornography, misleading information, or the creation of divisions, specifically target the theist and attempt to undermine the spiritual path. This is so because theism opposes atheism, and at present we live in a world ruled and directed by atheistic people. In summary, the digital age, characterized by deceptive use of science and AI and information, mirrors a vast net ensnaring the unwary. This era demands discernment and a higher power to higher principles to navigate its turbulent waters, and Shastra is the perfect helmsman. Without austerity, there is no hope of performing sacrifices in the mode of goodness. Thus, both the common man and the aspiring devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are being deceived by their senses. The two ways humans are being duped are by non truths spread in the guise of actual truths, or Shastric evidence, and by controllers pitting one man against another and preventing the joining of the common man. Separatism is not a part of Vaishnavism, and is a trick used to divide, to offer lucrative posts, and then to conquer the enemy in this case being the theist, or you, the devotee. And we're going to pause here. And yeah, I agree with so much of that. I'm reading right now We the Living by Ayn Rand. I'm just about done with it, matter of fact. This is an amazing book. Everyone should read it. I think it is her best book, and I've read them all. People don't want to read this or talk about this book, I know, because it totally destroys communism. And liberals don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear what it was like under there. And I think this is pretty close to accurate or truthful in many ways, having read a lot about Russia and USSR and being a Russophile when I was young. And as for the other side, which is anti communist, they don't want to hear about this book because conservatives tend to say, lift yourself up by your bootstrap. And this book proves that that's impossible if society doesn't want you to. You can only lift yourself as far as society wants. And there's a character in this book who is not a party member, and he comes from a bad family, as in the family was bourgeois. He cannot get a job. He cannot get a job. No matter what it is, no matter how low on the totem pole. Oh, you're not a party member. I'm sorry. And because he can't get a job, he can't get a food ticket. So he has to be supported by his mistress. And the book revolves around him and his mistress and the struggle they have because he's not following the system and thus he's being cut off from the system. And this relates to things I was reading in the beginning about banking and AI. We've already seen this in Canada for the trucker situation where they were protesting a few years ago and Trudeau cut their banking accounts. We see this in North Korea. People do the wrong thing and it's just like this book. We see this in China with the social credit system where suddenly, oh, well, you're not allowed on the bus. Well, how am I going to get to work? Well, I guess you can't, or you got to walk an hour or two. Sorry about that. Your system score isn't high enough. So we see this as actually happening. These are all legitimate concerns, and we're seeing them in action, and we've seen them in action now for over a century. This book was written, God, what year did she write this? I have no idea. 1936, and well, it's copyrighted in 36 and then in 59. And people laugh at this. Oh, it's just conspiracy talk. So when the truckers had their bank accounts shuttered, that was conspiracy talk. Did they know that it didn't actually happen? Yeah, don't be so oblivious to the world. But it's okay though on some level because the people in control want you to be oblivious. So if you're oblivious, you're at least doing what they want. But you'll be a soulless plebeian who will be stomped on at some point, and life will get worse and worse. And the only yeah, I've said this before. I think the only way out of this is religion to fill us with the inspiration to fight for it before it's gone. Anyways, I'm going off into some tangents. I can just feel them bubbling up in my head. I'm just going to pause here because they're going to take me in some wild places. So before we do that, I'm just going to say thank you for watching. And please check out my other videos on this channel and support this channel. There's a link down below. I'm an author of a lot of books, and you might find something of interest there. It's a great way of supporting me. Subscribe, like, yada yada. You know the routine. And with that, I'll say thank you for watching. Jai Shri Krishna.